Hello, Reese. Hello, Mackenzie. Hello, Mason. Hello, Maggie. It's time for gardening with Grandpa. So let's get our gloves on. So you remember in a different video how I showed you I made this irrigation pipe by drilling holes into it? Well, today I'm going to show you a little bit about what we can do to cut things. You see, each one of these has a slot cut in this plastic pipe. What I had to do then was I had to cut that. And to cut that, I needed a tool. And that tool I needed was called a saw. And these are called hand saws. Now, these hand saws mean that you do it by hand. Now, there's power saws, but today we're going to be using hand saws for this kind of job. I just wanted to show you some different kinds of hand saws. This one right here is called a hacksaw. This one is good at cutting plastic and metal. And then this one here is very good at cutting wood, especially wood planks, long cuts. And when it gets done cutting a piece, the edges can be a little ragged. So if you're wanting to work on something that's got a nice smooth edge on it, you use one of these, which is called a miter saw. You see how the difference is in the teeth? These are fine. These are big bites. This one, you almost can't see the little teeth. And that's what they're called, teeth. If I put my hand across it carefully and safely, you can see that. It's so little. But these are the tools that I use for different kinds of woodwork. And yet today we're going to be looking at using the hacksaw to cut this plastic pipe. Now, I've already done most of all this work for us, but right now I wanted you to just get a chance to see this use before I'm done. And you can see I've measured out here how far I want down on this pipe I want my cut, and I measured across how far I want this cut. So having done that, I am going to go right into work and show you that I'm holding this very firmly. See my hand holding it firmly? Sometimes we even put them into a vise or a vice grip to keep it in there. But since this is not going to be a power saw use, I'm just going to keep going with my hand, my arm, and you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I'm letting the saw do the work. I'm not pressing real hard. I'm just going back and forth, back and forth. And a little bit faster you go, and it keeps going in and in. You can see everything shaking because I got you kind of sitting on my chest. And then I've looked at where my lines are, and thankfully I didn't have to be very perfect because of this kind of project. In some cases, I'm very careful of my cuts, but this one did just fine, and you can see. So I showed you what I did to cut this pipe, and after I did that, I used some other tools to make the little trellises or little balconies through it. But you may be asking yourself, what is this thing? And what does it do? Well, first off, what does it do? And what it does is that this long pole or pipe here, I've created these little slats and cups. And what will happen is I'll take this outside, I'll bury the bottom part into the garden soil, and then I'll fill this full of dirt. And when it's all full of dirt, I'll take those seedlings that you had already been shown, the baby plants, and I'll put them inside each one of these little terraces so that they can live in there. That's right. We're not going to plant on the ground. We're going to make a plant condominium so the plants can all grow upwards together. Now, some of you might be wondering, where did this idea come from? Well, it came from reading a book. You know, Grandpa enjoys gardening for all the reasons that there are. And so I was reading a book about gardening, and I seen that they described this tower, gardening tower, and I thought, what a good idea. And so I started thinking about it. And then the next thing, I started using my imagination. You know what? Sorry about the thumb there. You know what imagination is? You guys use your imagination all the time when you're playing. You're imagining your dolls talking, or you're imagining you're going through the grocery store, or you're imagining you're working in the kitchen. Well, I started to use my imagination to make pictures in my head about what this would look like and how I might go about doing it. And that is called planning. I started to put together the plans. When we use construction, when we build things, we use a plan. When we cook, we call it a recipe. So I started making the plans, and I started seeing what I might be able to do and how I was going to do it. I took the ideas from that book, and I took ideas from plumbers and plumbing, and I came up with the kind of tube that I wanted to use, which was different than the ones that they suggested. I think it might be a better idea, the one I used. And then I started thinking about how it would go together and what it would mean outside. And that's where I put two and two together and came up with the idea of the irrigation tube. Well, remember, the irrigation tube is all about putting water to the plants. Well, think about this. If I take this irrigation tube and I put it inside my tower, and then when I take it outside and I put the bottom down into the ground, and if I have that tube inside of here and I pack dirt around the top of it and around that tube so it stays in place, I'll have dirt all around and inside of our little terraces, and that the plants can go in, and to water them, instead of watering each little terrace, I just come up here and I put the water in this tube. It goes down because water flows downward, and it will come through those little holes that I drilled out, and it will water or wet the water. The roots of the plants will get to the water inside the dirt, and they'll take that water and the dirt and the nutrients from the dirt will all come together in their little bodies, and they'll use that so that they can grow bigger, that they get full of good food stuff inside them, that me and Nanny will then take their leaves from and make our own salads. It's delicious. I can't wait for you guys to try it. Well, I'm going to get back off to Nanny, but just remember, Nanny and I love you very much. Keep yourself busy. Read. Use your imagination. And remember to plan your days. Okay. See you later. Bye.